my end. Before you start, I just wanted to mention something about the the tournament that's coming up in November for me. Um, it's going to be a really hard one. Uh, I have in terms of endurance because it's a 2 day event, and in the first day it's 3 rounds.
Oh,
And I'm getting older. When I was younger, yeah, I can handle it, but it's that's tough. So that's like what is that like at least 9 hours of chess, right? Like nine to
yeah.
12 hours, and that's so I was almost thinking of requesting a buy for the second round, possibly.
Bad idea.
Mm.
I've only played in a tournament with 3 rounds in one day. Once, yeah, only once. Uh, the third round of that day, I remember everyone was blundering everything.
Yeah.
And I blundered the piece and I won the game.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So you can picture how
And that was
was long.
standard time control.
Yeah, it
Like,
was 1 hour and 30 plus 30
yeah, yeah,
seconds.
same here. So did you
Yeah,
did
it's
so when I said that I was thinking about getting a buy in the second round, I'm not sure if I heard you. Did you say bad idea or not a bad idea?
no, it seems it's a good idea.
Mm.
How many rounds?
Five.
Uh, oh,
Yeah. So that's unfortunate because you kind of need to get 5 out of 5, right? But
yeah, it will rob you of many opportunities to win the tournament. Yeah. Um,
mm,
yeah, you're practically forced to win
yeah,
the other 4 rounds if you want to win the
yeah.
tournament.
Well,
Yeah.
but if I play in the premier section, which we were talking about, then I'm playing just for rating, basically.
Yeah, that's
Um,
true.
so yeah, but I don't know. I've been thinking about it, but at the same time, it kind of sucks to play just 4 games, right? You know,
Yeah.
and I'm renting a hotel for 3 days and driving up north and or down south actually. Yeah, and then just to play 4 games. So I don't know. I'm on the fence, but I do know it's going to be killer because like 3 games in one day. You've done it before. You know it's
Yeah.
ridiculous, right?
But it was a 7 round event and it wasn't the second day. So yeah, it killed me.
Yeah, yeah.
uh, There were 2 rounds in one day, 3 rounds in the next day, and the last 2 rounds and the final day. Yeah, it was brutal.
Yeah, yeah. Plus, on the first day, I have to wake up early and drive 2 hours to the tournament.
Oh,
So, and
oh,
then I have three 3 rounds.
yeah,
Um,
that drive is. I think that's the toughest part. Because you get there and you still have 3 rounds to play. Oh, mm.
yeah, yeah. By
That's
the
a,
third round, it's the kids are going to benefit the most for sure.
yeah.
Yeah, because they have the energy, and also
They don't really care.
yeah, and mom
Yeah.
and dad are driving, right? They don't have to worry about anything. They just get to play. So, yeah, so I'm still thinking about that. But um, in the 90s, it was normal for it to be 3 rounds in one day because the weekend, right? The Saturday, Sunday. So the tournaments were held uh, with 3 rounds in one day, but they haven't done that here for like 20 years. They've It's always been at most 2 rounds a day. So I'm not used to
Yeah,
it.
it's the usual format. Even 2 rounds in a day is
Hmm.
quite tough.
Yeah.
Over the days, it gets tougher and tougher. I mean,
Yeah.
for a short event, it's all right, but
It also
uh,
a lot of it depends on luck, right? What if all three of your games like what if the first 2 games or no, what if all 3 games last long? Like they're all like 100 move games. That's going to kill you, and then you after the first game you might only get 15 minutes to eat, and then you have okay, round 2.
yeah.
And then again round 3. Oh, that's oh,
I mean, only when there's a big difference in skill level between the opponents, the games end early.
mm,
But normally, if your opponents are roughly playing at your level, the games are in average 3 hours to 4 hours. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's it.
unless you're in the low, if you're in the low sections, those games last 10 minutes. You know. Yeah, I always cause I like to watch their games because they're so exciting, and so I will. The first time I take a break during a game, normally I sit the whole time when I play. But sometimes if I'm clearly winning, I'll get up and walk around. And I like to walk around to the lower games, but they're all done. The whole section is gone already. So, like in the first half hour, they're almost games are all over. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
it's
Yeah,
funny.
yeah. Okay, so I'm good to go here. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm in the correct study.
Okay, I'm also in the game study. I'm in both.
Oh, you're in both.
Yeah.
Okay, let me find that.
Now, yeah, I remember we had one study for your games and the other one for modern games and stuff like that. I just remember. So
Oh, thank you for the sub, um, Bibby James. Thank you for the sub there. Yeah, I'm getting a little bit of feedback now, just now for
Oh,
some reason. I don't know why.
if I say something, you.
No, let's see. I was hearing myself. It's good
Oh,
now.
okay.
It's good now. But for some reason, I got feedback from my own microphone on your end. Okay, so game. Okay, I'm also in game study now. I'm in both.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I chose two games from you. King's Pounce opening. I think we haven't gone through
Okay.
your games with
Oh,
E4, E5.
Rui Lopez. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you get along with the Rui?
You know, yeah, I say it on my stream all the time. The Roy is one of the only openings that I have a really, really hard time remembering my opening theory. I think because there are a million very similar looking positions that can be achieved from a number of different move orders, but there's so many different tabias that look very, very similar that I often just forget my theory. Um,
Yeah, it doesn't lend itself well for memorizing. Learning the Rui Lopez by heart is an impossible task. The same can be said about the Italian. I mean, the differences in different variations are so nuanced, so small, that it's almost impossible to really yeah, it's impossible to know each variation by heart. I mean, that's why the structures is your best bet here. I mean, it's a big yeah, it's it's very hard work in any case because you have to go through many model games, try to learn the typical issues for both in so many structures. That's the other problem. I mean, the transformations in the pawn structure are so many. uh, yeah, the Rui Lopez is known for its strategic complexity. I mean, everyone is usually told to to play e4 for that reason. It's so rich that you become strategically strong if you know how to play the Rui Lopez properly. I haven't. I've never played e4. I kind of regret it. I think it's something you have to do. Um,
you've never played e4 in a tournament?
only once, but because I knew my opponent, and I played a Scotch, so
Okay.
I knew my opponent had some flaw in his
Oh,
approach
okay.
to Scotch,
Okay.
so I wanted to, um, but never um, systematically, only once. uh, in this case, it was a Berlin. I was very interested in this game. Uh,
Yeah.
you played
I
D4.
vaguely remember it. I think, yeah, I remember. I think I had the opportunity of playing like knight f5, I think, or attacking because he brought his bishop out and I could have attacked it. I think that's what the computer preferred.
Yeah, you had a tactic at some point.
Yeah.
Your opponent made a big blunder.
Well, I think it was coming up. I think he plays bishop e6 and the computer like knight g5. I think that
At that point.
it's coming up soon. If this is the same game I'm thinking of.
Yeah, here comes e6. Yeah, but still, your play is perfectly reasonable up to now. I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah, I think the computer's top move is knight g5, but it was also quite happy with b3. B3, I just remember is kind of a thematic move in the Berlin. You know, you're kind of restricting squares from his bishop, and you got control with your dark square bishop. So.
Yeah, up to here, it's been very normal. What are the features of this position? What's your plan and what's
well? Yeah, so I like to play the h3 line in the Berlin, as you see. I know that you can pretty much play rook d1, h3, knight c3. They're all kind of interchangeable. But I play h3 because I do like to do, my main idea is to do the pawn storm in front of my king. But, you know, if black prevents it with h5, which is a good move, as he did here, we can't really go that route anymore. So, I mean, this has obviously been studied to death by others, and it's, you know, it's very, very equalizing for black. So it's hard to come up with like a real concrete plan, especially. So yeah, so first of all, my main plan, if there's not h5, is to like play g4, king g2, and work my way up that way. Here, I don't really have a plan other than very, very slowly making incremental little improvements to my position, and white does kind of control more space here, I feel. So I kind of want to build on that space. I think, yeah, like knight d, like knight e4 is an example.
Yeah, well, as you mentioned it, after h5, your main idea of just throwing that pawn storm in front of him is made much harder. But it's still there. I mean, it's kind of a long-term plan. Now you know that you have to just make your pieces look better, maybe grab some more space, and slowly try to realize that plan in the long run. Black can't do that much either. I mean, the typical imbalance here is that you do have this pawn majority on the king side, 4 against 3, and he has the crippled majority. That's how this is called, the 4 versus 3. Do you know why it's called the crippled majority?
Sorry, are you saying critical or crippled?
No, crippled.
Crippled.
Yeah, this is a crippled majority.
Really? I haven't heard of that before. Well, it's got to be because of the double pawn. I'm guessing one that we could maybe stop. I don't know, because I think if there was no other pieces or pawns on the board and the kings were in the corner, I think the 4 to 3 or the crippled majority, I think it still wins against the 3, does it not? Or can white blockade that somehow?
Well, that's exactly the point. If you ignore the rest of the pieces and you only take into account this 4 versus this 3, you can't get a passed pawn out of that structure. That's the main.
Okay, good. What if the pawn was here?
Oh, e6?
Yeah.
You can still manage to. I mean, this is very abstract. Just let me show it in a different way.
Yeah. Crippled majority. First time I've heard that.
Okay, with black to play. Okay, I forgot about the kings, but that's
It's a small
if black,
detail, yeah.
yeah, if black wants to um, get a passed pawn out of this, it's impossible. You just put your pawns on b3, c4, and a4, and there's no way you get a passed pawn out of this. I think that's the main point.
Because at the end of it, there's always going to be a pawn stopping the two double pawns, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I can't make a move.
Yeah, you have to add the kings.
Kings.
Yeah, so if there's a pawn on a6, it should be the same. It shouldn't change anything. It should,
yeah, it's the same. It's actually the same.
okay, so then what about b6?
With the pawn on b6?
Yeah.
I still think you can get the same structure for white. Just a sec. Oh, wait a second. With the pawn on b6, you say, okay. With black to play, almost there. Well, the king, we just ignore the kings. I think there I said it right. Okay. In a structure like this, yeah, these pawns can still.
Oh, so it doesn't. You don't have the pawns on a7, b7. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it actually doesn't make a difference. Okay. For example, let's say you want to play b5, so you stop this c4 right away. White can still prepare for it. Yeah, I don't really see a way in which you get a passed pawn. These two are always going to be stopped by the c pawn, the white c pawn. c5, c4. If you exchange, this one stops the two, and on c6, I guess the easiest is a4. Yeah, you never get to break through. That's the main point. These four can't by themselves make white create a passed pawn for black. They're just not going to get through. Of course, it's a completely different scenario with more pieces on the board.
Or king closer, yeah. But I'm curious though. I'm still curious if the extra pawn is on b6.
Well, at this point, it is on b6. Oh, you say with this pawn on b7 and the pawn on b6?
Yeah, like here, like this.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess it's still the same.
So it doesn't matter who's to move, but it's black to move, I guess. So, okay.
Yeah, it's yeah.
I don't know. This looks different.
It is a bit different, yeah. But if you play a6 now, I play a4. Yeah.
Wait a second. Somebody in chat just made a good point.
What?
Alessandro, someone made a really good point in the chat that this is an impossible position. It's not legal.
Yeah, how did the pawn get there?
Yeah, okay. But I guess it could happen. This could happen though. Right? Yeah, that could happen. But that's funny. Yeah. Oh man, it's funny you didn't notice, but
yeah, no, I didn't even think about it.
Yeah, I know. That's funny.
But then maybe there's a way to create a passed pawn here. I don't think so. Really, there's still.
Yeah, this would be a pretty rare situation, though. Actually, this would be very rare. Yeah, we would have had to have put like a bishop or a knight here, right? in order for him to
Yeah.
take, because he's not taking a pawn. So, and why? Yeah, so that's almost
And
never
then
will
I mean,
happen. Yeah. Okay.
here, yeah,
Yeah. Okay. So we don't
too
have to look
many,
at that.
yeah, too many rare
Yeah.
exchanges.
Okay. Okay. We can
Even
go back to
here,
that.
I don't see how you get a pass pound. The
Okay.
thing is, with that's one of the weaknesses of the double pounds. The fact that they are not so mobile, and even the majority, sometimes you can't get a pass pound out of them. Well, in this case, you really can't. uh, for, I mean, of course, it's very different when there are so many
Okay.
pieces, and one of the most important imbalances for black here is that he has a pair of bishops.
Mm.
That's his compensation for the crippled structure on the queen side. Um, and it's quite a good one. I mean, this bishop is unopposed and it's great. When these pawns get to advance supported by the bishops, things can change easily. One of the games I put in the other in the other study, well, it's exactly about this. But up to this point, I think you nailed it with your description of what's happening. Yeah, black has made it very difficult for you to launch your kingside pawn storm, so you have to be patient and just play on your space advantage. Bishop b2, your opponent really knew what he was doing. This rook sort is quite typical too. I don't know if it's entirely correct here or anything, but I've seen it many times in the Berlin, so it seems like he was.
Yeah, that's the first time I've seen that.
I've seen in some games of the top level guys other rook h6. It tends to be quite useful. This is also a thing, playing g5 at some point, kind of disconnecting this pawn from the rest of your structure. Rook takes, king takes. Actually, here both play. You both play. I mean, there can't be big criticism, but I wanted to look at this game. Well, this was a good capture for you. I'm not entirely sure. Um, is it necessary to part with this bishop? Apparently it is. What do you think?
I think, if I remember, I think the computer didn't really mind for black to, yeah, to let that bishop get traded.
Uh,
I guess rook
it,
takes.
yeah, I think it makes sense because even though he's well losing the bishop pair, which was his main trump, uh, he has achieved something. I mean, he really blocked your pawns, and it's quite tough for you to the blockade. So it might be all right. If I could get away with it, I might try to go bishop c8 and keep the bishops.
Mm-hmm.
If that's tactically possible, I think that should be um, the best the best positionally founded decision. I don't see a reason why I should part with this bishop if I can prevent that. And then I don't know, bishop e7, maybe rook g6 to kick the knight out. Then we might go back to e6, and in the long run, Blanc wants to start pushing his queenside pawns. That's the main idea, but he has to be patient and, of course, get to secure his blockade of your kingside pawns. With bishop e7, yeah, you have bishop, and it should be around equal. I mean, both of you played quite well. He has a nice blockade on your majority. You do have your majority. He doesn't have the pair of bishops, so these aren't going to be that threatening when they start advancing without his light square bishop. But now there comes the reason why I wanted to take a look at this game. Do you remember what you played here?
Well, I don't know. I don't really remember. I don't remember what happened in this game, but let's see if I can remember what I played. Um, the immediate move I'm looking at is 94, but I don't know what my plans would be. I don't really have his bishop's dominating my knight if I go there. But let me think. Um, like probably. I mean, probably I'm trying to get my king in the game. Like I was thinking maybe I played f4 here.
Yeah, that's the move you
Okay.
played. Exactly. And how do you feel about f4?
I know that you slapped my hand in one of our first lessons. Yeah, so I'm very cautious about that move. But here, queen's off. You know, I think it's yeah. I don't like a lot of this pressure on the e5 pawn. I'm trying to remember what my plan was with f4. I think part of it was I thought his rook was getting a little bit squishy there. You know, I thought it was starting to become a danger for him, and I think I was planning like f4, king f2, king f3, maybe get the king more active, and slowly inch my way up the board, basically.
Okay, yeah, I see the point. Um, the problem is that f4 is very weakening for different reasons this time around. I mean,
G5 maybe undermining it.
that could be a problem in the long run. But it's also a move you don't usually desire to make in this structure if you don't make sure that you're actually going to get this in. Uh, because this is a very costly move in a positional sense. Your bishop is really bad now. um, um, you also leave some very weak squares. Now it's very hard to make the push. Even h4 would just leave these 2 pawns completely disconnected from the rest of the structure, and uh, well, there are probably going to be weaknesses. And as you say, G5 is always going to be there, always lurking as an undermining device. Um, so F4 actually, um, I think at this point it kind of seals the blockade on your structure. I don't see how you're going to get G4 in. And while you do that, you're certainly giving him some breaks, and also you're weakening a lot of squares with 3-3. Especially this guy is going to suffer in the long run. 94 was reasonable, I think. 92 is also good, and you still have e4 for your f4 for your knight, which might be a good thing to have. In fact, this might be some sort of threat right now. Well, he still has this, but it's a bit uncomfortable. Yeah, you have to make slow but steady progress against g3, king g2, see if at some point you can get g4 in. But it's going to take time. The good thing is it's not like he has a lot to show for his for your extra power on the king side and the center, because as he doesn't have the bishop pair anymore, you don't have to worry that this pawn storm is going to be a problem now. But yeah, f4, I know it's subtle, and I know it seems like the pawns are not suffering right now or anything, but the problem is that the blockade is permanent now. He gave the check, which, I mean, it seems all right. I'm not completely sure of it because the bishop was very well placed there. I like the h4 or rook g6, kind of making this impossible forever. King h2, g6. but he's still playing well. And when you play bishop c1, it really shows. This bishop is as bad as it gets. It's just hitting a wall against his own pawn.
I'm trying to remember why I played that.
Bishop c1.
Yeah.
Maybe because of bishop e3. And you still have bishop c1.
Yeah, but he's got his knight is right there.
Maybe you saw bishop e3.
I know.
Bishops. Yeah.
Yeah, but he's got two pieces on e3.
Oh, you say that?
Yeah.
Maybe this also was yeah.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I was thinking about this.
Oh, that's what it was, I think. Yeah, I probably didn't want I probably didn't want either pieces to go there. I think I think it was just defending bishop, and
Yeah.
I think I thought that the bishop on this diagonal, normally it would be great, but here it's not really doing that much. So okay, that's why I played it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not working here anymore. That's true. And yeah, now you don't need the extra defense for this pawn anymore. Though it costs you a lot in terms of weaknesses and in terms of how bad this bishop is now. And now this is the blunder you mentioned. He played 94, which is very bad. It's a terrible mistake.
I think it was something to do with his bishop being undefended.
Yeah, this knight is actually barely defended.
Yeah, I guess I could probably just attack it with bishop e3.
Bishop e3. Oh no, he has a tactic there. You still have to be careful. What happens if bishop e3?
Knight takes b3.
Yeah, it's actually winning a pawn there.
Yeah.
Well, you still have f5. Oh, but there's something better. I mean, bishop e3, knight takes b3, f5. You don't have.
I guess I just.
There is something better though. That knight takes b3.
Yeah, if knight a4, then then he can't. The knight's it's both pieces are under attack, and if he goes bishop b6, I just take the bishop, and then his knight's on pre. Yeah.
This was just winning. He doesn't have knight e6 because of f5. Yeah, you're winning a piece here. If he sits, then what?
Wait. So sorry, I forgot about knight e6. Why was that?
Oh, knight
just
e6?
because of the triple pawns is good enough, right? I mean, no. Wait. Sorry. We have the fork. So okay. So b6. The fly. Yeah. So if we go back here, so if
b6.
b6.
The triple pawns are great.
Yeah. I'll just take the bishop. Yeah.
But you have something better than tripling up the pawns. I mean, it's good enough, definitely. Well, I think so. But you can do better than just gaining a positional advantage.
Oh man, what am I missing?
This knight is still barely defended. I mean, just barely.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, at c3, there's knight f5.
Yeah, but actually, if you play c3, you're making him get rid of his problem because this knight is the one that's hanging right now.
Oh man, I don't know how I don't see it.
When you see it, you're going to say, "Oh, that was it."
Okay, I think it's b4 because his and he has no counterplay with his knight there.
Yeah, before. Excellent. Yeah, no way out for this knight threatening anything. So if takes, rook takes, and that's it. So yeah, knight a4 was winning a piece, I guess.
Yeah, I guess I just trusted him because he was playing well so far. I thought, no way will he blunder. Yeah, but I guess it maybe it should have rang some warning bells. The fact that his bishop is on pre and his knight is kind of barely hanging on there.
Yeah, it's very easy to put pressure on the piece, on the only piece that's defending the knight. Yeah. Bishop e3 looks interesting, but knight f3, I think this is the move here.
This is what happened?
No.
Okay.
On bishop e3, which seemed to be good enough, I think black should play knight f3 check, which is...
Yeah, well, I thought even does knight takes b3 work too?
You still have to deal with this f5, and the rook is trapped somehow, and the knight is attacked.
Okay.
Yeah. Incredibly, there's no way out for the rook now. So yeah, I guess against bishop e3, knight f3 is the way to go, and black not only defends now, it's now better because of this. And yeah, knight f4. But as you see, even here you have to calculate accurately because bishop e3, hey, looks great, but black has many resources, and black can also go wrong and take here, which seems great, and unexpectedly there's this f5. So yeah, everything has to be checked tactically. You play 94, which misses the turn. He's actually okay again now because he still has the blockade. But I mean, he's okay, but of course, you're still very much in it. He's threatening this, I guess. Well, not yet, because you always have f5. So what could be? Maybe c3, knight f5, g3. I mean, g3 is a move you might want to make at some stage, so that he doesn't just fix your pawns with h4. I wasn't sure about. Oh, you might be able to get away with g3 right now, because if knight takes e2, there is f5 still.
Okay.
Maybe we have to check this stuff. I mean, g3, knight f3 check. Doesn't seem like much, but king g2. Yeah, you might get away with something like that. I mean, at least.
What about h4 with the idea of
you're playing h4 right here.
Yeah, and then with the idea of knight g3.
Well, I think you're killing the rest of your pawns here.
Yeah, but knight g3 wins a pawn, maybe.
Well, actually, even if you were to play right now and you had knight g3, he can still go rook.
Yeah, king h3.
King h3, g6.
Okay, too bad.
Yeah, but that's even considering that. I mean, as if it were white to play, but here it's black to play. And for example, knight e5 is annoying already. I mean, h4 is this is a critical concession. I mean, from a structural point of view, you're saying to him, okay, my pawns aren't running forwards anymore. uh,
Yeah, I know positionally I wouldn't play that. I just thought that I won a pawn with knight g3. I thought rook
uh,
h6 and then f5. That's what I was thinking
that
worked.
this was coming
Yeah.
in an event. Yeah, I mean, it's tough to put your pawns in motion, but here at least you have the hope that in the long run you might start pushing them. I can picture you playing g3 right now, so there's no h4 anymore. And yeah, you can build up slowly. Um, at, well, in no time you're going to push the knight away, get your king to f3, and now I like your perspectives of pushing the pawns in the long run. But yeah, with this blockade on the light squares, there's no other way around it than just being patient. um, um, Avoiding getting your pawns fixed and slowly improving your pieces until you can actually play g4 and f5. Uh, it is very hard to do, but if you get to it, black is hopeless. That's good news. um, yeah, when you start pushing your pawns and he has no counterplay on the queen side, then that's it. Um, so it's your long-term goal in any case. Here you blunder the pawn. You play f5.
Yeah, yeah, that was game over. Yeah.
Yeah, from here it just went
Yeah.
south. um, Going to the other study, I wanted to show you this game because it really rang the bell for me. Um, this is a game. There, it's actually a couple of games by Patchman. Um, who had a very good grasp of the positions against the well, it wasn't the exchange variation, but you see that the same structures arise from the exchange variation after bishop takes, d takes. That's all this play with a pair of bishops against the central pawn majority. Um, it's typical of the exchange from Lopez. It takes d, castles, bishop e7, e5, knight e4, knight takes d4, castles, rook e1, knight c5. Well, now we're forcing that structure in any case because the bishop has to go. And after bishop d takes, we have not the exact same position, but a very similar structure to the, well, to the exchange Spanish and to the Berlin.
Crippled majority. Yeah.
Yeah, with a nice pair of bishops. Knight c3. And here black's move seems completely crazy. But he plays f5. What do you make of that? Does it make sense?
Well, I guess I would have to really give serious thought if e6 is a thing. Um, I don't know if e6. I don't know if white can hang on to e6 if he plays that, but that would be my primary concern as black here. I don't know. I think probably he can't hang on to e6. That's probably a runaway, like, too far gone pawn that is probably too hard for white to defend. So, I guess if e6 we have queen d6, and then we can put like maybe rook a e8, and eventually we can get it. So probably e6 is not a concern.
yeah, the pawn might be too far advanced. I can even think of some forcing way of getting rid of that pawn immediately. Maybe bishop f6. Yeah, he can take here, but after the queens disappear and this pawn falling, the bishops on e6 and f6 are quite impressive. So yeah, the pawn e6 is probably going to fall victim of black's pieces, black's well-centered pieces.
I don't know. F5. What do I think? I guess the other thing I would really have to worry about here is F4. I mean, technically White had the passed pawn here. Because F4 might secure that passed pawn right into the endgame. Because I don't know Black's plan to really stop this secured passed pawn. I don't know how Black would break that up unless he's planning G5, F4, G5. I don't know. That's a little wild for me.
Actually, that's what interested me about this position. There was a prior game of Pachman with F4, which is again a positional mistake. I couldn't find the whole game. I found a lot of games for this Pachman. This Pachman game of 1940 mentioned in Watson's book, Modern Strategy in Chess. I couldn't find the complete game, but I see what Pachman is saying here because he commented upon this game. The problem is that this bishop, again, it's very similar to what happened in your game. It's really bad, and it's true that White has a passed pawn now, passed protected, but this passed pawn has all the problems, the typical problems of the passed pawn defended by a pawn chain. It makes White's position quite rigid, actually. After all these exchanges, this game is close to being positionally lost for White. I mean, the pawn is so well blocked, and the pair of bishops are going to tear the queen side apart.
One second, Alessandro. Here, I think I found the game. This is Pachman. It's black, and we have an F4, but it's a little. Yeah, this one. Is this the game you were thinking of?
It's exactly this game.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Same position. Is it? Oh, do you have the complete game?
Yeah, this is a game. You can go forward. This is from.
I can only see. Oh.
It's from 1946. I think CSR Championship.
Yeah, this is the one. I only found some games with Pachman playing White against Faultis from that year. Bishop takes, bishop e6. Yeah, this is the endgame I was talking about. These bishops are huge. This passed pawn is blocked, and it's going to be blocked like forever. You don't even have access to f4 anymore to try and undo the blockade. Incredibly, this is quite sad for White. Even though you have a pawn majority with a passed pawn already, the passed pawn is so well blocked, and these bishops are going to destroy the king side after we start advancing our pawns. Rook ed1, he centralizes the king. It's funny that White mostly wait. h6 introduces one of the breaks. I mean, yeah, there is a passed pawn, but we're going to start hitting the base. The technique against pawn chains. We hit the base, or what's closest to the base of the chain. G5, G3, and missed it.
Now there's a new base.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't get to play h5, h4, but at least we're going to weaken this pawn at some point. or we might play g4 and go for the other base. And now b6, well, this is typical. I think we saw a couple of games by Steinitz where he showed how the advantage of the bishop pair in the endgames is pushed forward. We, as the ones who have the bishop pair, should put all our pawns in the color of the opponent's bishop. So we highlight that the bishop that we have and our opponent doesn't is great. So if we put all our pawns on dark squares here, this bishop is miserable. And this bishop is huge. And hey, he doesn't have the opponent to this bishop. So this bishop is going to be the key. This game ended in a draw in the end, which is crazy. Probably g4. Think about the exchange of all the rooks here.
Hard to say. I don't think it hurts black, and at the very least, we kind of get a tempo out of it.
It's very strange that Pachman didn't want to push this because he's the only one that can win, and this is actually so comfortable. I don't see the need to exchange all the rooks. I mean, these two bishops actually control any entry points for the rook. I would probably play rook here. And I guess Pachman wasn't, or he wasn't in the mood, or he had already rearranged the draw, because this is quite sad for white to defend. I don't get why he would just...
Let's see, what round was this? Let me check. This was round 14. I wonder if that's a double round robin? I don't know.
Those endless tournaments that these guys play.
Yeah.
I'm curious that even if this endgame isn't just better for black. I'm quite astonished that he never tried to push the queenside bounce somehow, especially playing c5, which is quite typical. King here, king c7, he just repeated moves with the king. Well,
okay.
If anyone can push this is black, but he probably shouldn't part with all the rooks. He might do well to keep one pair of rooks and keep pushing this. I mean, the pass pawn is never a danger, and with the two bishops, yeah, you won't just start pushing the queenside pawns and make inroads. In the other game, this game, Vesely Pachman, they arrived at the same position. This f5 is a great position move. It gives a pass pawn to white, but actually white's idea is not to have this blocked pass pawn forever. White's idea is to play f4 and f5.
Sorry, I'll be 1 second here.
So,
I scared it away. Sorry, I was trying to catch a fly. I was trying to let out the window. Oh wait. Okay, sorry. Keep going. Yeah, like this f5. It's very tempting for white to play f4. Right? It's almost a trap.
Yeah, it actually makes your pieces worse, and it drives the minor pieces of squares, while this pawn is just excellently blocked. F5 is so great because it really addresses the issue of the position for black. I mean, your concern with black is not that white is going to get this pass pawn. Your problem would be if white plays f4 and f5, for example. Then that might be a problem. With f5, he's actually aiming to block this pawn immediately, without any dangers of knight f5, for example. So it's quite a good position move. at this point. In this game, Pachman's opponent tried to improve on Faulty's play.
Oh,
He
this
probably
this
knew
was
that.
after. This was after. Okay.
Yeah, knight c2 is a better attempt, but this position in general is not great for white. Knight e6, knight takes, queen takes, rook c1, bishop c6, and it should be ringing a bell. It's very similar to the other game. Knight f4, rook a8. Well, bishop e3 and bishop c8. Well, you see, that's why I thought that in your game it was a good idea for your opponent to play bishop c8 if it was possible. Actually, keeping the pair of bishops here is the standard for black. It should be what he's aiming for. Not saying that king f7 is bad, and if white takes, yeah, then the king gets a nice blockading square, but yeah, I like this bishop. It has its influence on the queen side if you actually get to put your pawns in motion. Pachman really did. I mean, b6, of course, no bishop c5 or anything. b4, it would be a good position move so that pawns can rush forwards. And now what do we play?
Well, okay. I think f4.
My mistake. Sorry. Why is this good for black?
Well, I guess b4 is an issue. So if the knight takes, potentially, I guess we take on b4, and now white's pawns are split, and we have a 4-2 majority. And if he takes with the bishop, well, if he takes with the bishop, I don't know, maybe we sack the exchange.
It's more than a sack. You actually get 2 pieces for the rook.
Huh? Bishop takes.
Bishop takes, rook takes.
Ah. Right. Okay. Okay, I see.
Yeah, okay. These bishops are huge. You play bishop e6 and those rooks are dead. They're not entering black's position. I mean, this would be the case where the maps are clearly better than the rook.
Oh, yeah.
Not really many open files to operate for the white rooks, and the only open file they have access to, well, it's not possible to get in there. So yeah, he played knight takes and bishop takes. This is great for the bishops. I mean, the bishops are set free. Well, the bishops benefit from this fight against the knight when there are prospects of getting past pawns for both on opposite wings. Because the bishops are much faster and they cover much more ground. So the knight is quite hopeless in the long run if we are going to push the pawns on the queen side and create a passed pawn, and white wants to push these pawns. The knight can't compete with the bishops in this type of fight. Therefore, knight e2, bishop f5, already hitting the c2 pawn. C3, bishop a5, rook ac1, and c5. And now we start to restrict both.
Oh, I feel so awkward with my bishop though on a5.
Yeah, it looks strange, but it actually kind of ties both pieces down to the defense of c3. c3 is so weak that if you move the knight at some point, then maybe this is the threat. Rook takes and bishop takes. If you can't move the knight, I don't know what what you do as white here because the bishop is horrible. So he played f3. That much, he might be trying to just get the king to the center. Though the bishop's out there and down the queen side. This is something resembling what he should have tried to do in his game with Faultis. Bishop c4, knight f4, rook f8. Now the pawn is hiding there. And yeah, this endgame is completely hopeless. Now he just loses one of the pawns. The h2 pawn is falling, or the a pawn is falling in this case.
I still don't know how we. Oh, I guess now we're defending the c pawn, so now we can play b5, and release our bishop.
How? Because if rook takes, then we defend. Yeah, that or else we try to penetrate with our rook somehow. This pawn is so weak that I know it optically does.
I hate that bishop. Because it just seems so hard like to release. Like if we don't take e5, I don't know how we're.
But how about his rook? Because his rook is bigger than the bishop, and it's completely tied down because of this bishop. I mean, if this pawn was defended by another pawn, then yeah, this bishop is quite clumsy, but it's tying down the rook to its defense. So as long as white doesn't get an economical way of defending the pawn, the bishop is effective, even though it's on the side of the board. Well, actually, here you win a pawn in any case.
Yeah.
That e pawn is doomed. Bishop takes. Well, we win a pawn. We can spare the bishop pair if we win a pawn. And now what? Now the simple threat might be to play something like rook d6 and get in here with that pawn.
Maybe king e2.
King e2, c4, something like that, with the idea of.
Well, I just mean right now, king e2 for white.
Oh, king e2 right now.
Yeah, like king e2, d3, f2, something like that.
Yeah, the king should cross over to the center, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm thinking if c4 is.
Yeah, and king d2.
King d2. And rook check.
King f2.
King c2.
King c2.
Here.
Okay. Rook d3.
You have bishop.
Bishop d2.
Yeah.
Wait, no, bishop d2. You have black has rook e2.
No, the rook is on d3. I mean, king e2, c4. Yeah. I guess I can play b5 with the idea of bringing the bishop back to life.
Yeah, or maybe we have time. Do we have time to play something like king c7 or king f7? Get our king in the game. Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense. Maybe even more sense than going for this, because the rook is doing nothing on d3 after this.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure the maneuver of the rook to d3 is benefiting us.
Yeah, I guess we just bring in the king, right? And we maybe get in the king in the light squares, or
That would be better technique.
yeah,
Bring in the king and then see what our opponent does.
yeah.
Should be better as endgame technique shows. um, White played c4 because he wanted to get rid of this problem and play rook d1 once and for all. um, it never comes to happen. I mean, king f7, and if rook d1, then rook d6, and the king is near by the pawns if this exchange happens. Bishop, another great move, b5. Um, that sound is my dog.
Oh, I didn't hear. No, I just saw a huge
okay.
a huge bug flew. Well, I guess this webcam will show. I don't know if you. Oh wait, I don't know if you can see. You probably can't see, but no, sorry. A huge bug just flew on my window there. It scared me. It's like.
It's a nice sign. It's a nice sign, though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. After b5, well, he's taking advantage of the fact that this pawn can't be taken after the exchange of pawns because of bishop b6, and he's just winning the rook in that case. So bishop b3, bishop b6, c takes. Still, the pins are quite strong. If bishop takes rook c, and that rook is is in trouble. I mean, you lose the bishop on c5. So b1, c4, and you end up being a pawn up after bishop takes, rook takes, and this enemy is quite easy to win now. I mean, he finally realized the advantage. Now White just resigned. This is quite the model game for how Black approaches this structure. I mean, it's very similar to the Berlin. Black usually wants to just block everything. This pass pawn isn't such a great thing for White. If Black gets to blockade everything. In the Berlin, is of course different, and you have your resources. In your game, you have the opportunity of slowly building up and trying to push your pawns on the king side. But f4 was a bad move, and it is also a bad move in this situation, actually. It just kills off any kind of counterplay White could have, and it really does a lot of harm to the dark square bishop. Even though Bachmann wasn't,
yeah, it's a very easy mistake to make. Like, I could certainly see myself playing f4. It just seems so natural, getting that permanent passed pawn.
Yeah, it's very tempting, but it's something to be careful about. I mean, you might as well be sure that your pawns are really marching forwards after you do that, or else everything is just blocked and kind of weak. If you have a minute, I wanted to show you this game by Fischer quickly, especially because of what White does here to push his pawns forwards. Well, it was the exchange variation, a favorite of Fischer's. This might seem a bit strange, but actually Black puts his pieces in a way that he's already thinking about White's plan to advance the central pawn. So he takes these seats under a lot of control. E5, sorry, 92, bishop d6, all the pieces pointing to these two squares, basically, which is sort of a typical setup in exchange variation. Cast queen d3, 95. Knight takes, bishop takes. This seems innocent enough for bishop d6. And now Fischer makes a very strong move. it's a very good positional move. It's a concept that wasn't invented by him. This is borrowed from Lasker. Um, he plays f5 himself. Why? How does it make sense?
I like it. I don't know why I like it, but so it severely weakens e5 now, but we might be able to gain a pivot point on f4. I don't know if we want to put the knight on f4 or trade the bishops and then put the knight on f4, but I like it. And like, I think White has some opportunity to attack on the king side now. He's probably safe to even at some point play like g4 h4, and he's restricting black's light squared bishop. Potential,
yeah. It's a very restrictive move. It kills this bishop for quite some time, and this might seem strange, but it's just the first step for White before he goes e5, which sounds crazy because
that was not on my radar.
Yeah, because e5 is in Black's hands.
Yeah.
The problem is that White is going to exchange these dark square bishops, and after that he's going to put the rook on e1, and e5 is going to be very hard to stop because the only other minor that has is this light square bishop that does nothing to stop this. It seems crazy, but it works really well. It worked in a very similar way in a game by Lasker against Capablanca.
And f5 won't fall in that process?
Well, you're going to see how Fischer organizes his pieces. He puts all his efforts to go e5 at some point. He goes knight f3, rook here, queen here, plays e5.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, after these bishops disappear, the knight has a way to put pressure on e5, while this bishop, well, it can't. So with due preparation, e5 is coming. And if e5 is then, yeah, we have a huge attack on the king side and better pieces, probably. Apparently, the best move here is the best idea is to prepare c5 and the general advance of the pawns on the queen side as usual. The problem with c5 right away is that knight b3 hits the pawn, and it's not possible to defend it. I mean, you don't have b6 because of queen d5, check, and the rook falls, and if queen e7, also check, and then bishop takes c5. So that's not possible. Apparently, the best move is king h8 to sidestep that queen d5 check ideas, but it's a bit nuanced. I mean, it's no surprise that Seeker didn't play it. He just went e7, which seems reasonable. Bishop f4. Yeah, it's the start of the plan. I mean, the idea is to get rid of the bishops, organize our pieces so that we push e5 at some point. In the Capablanca game, Lasker Capablanca game I mentioned, Black let White exchange like this and rectify his pawns. But that's not good for Black. I mean, even though he gets to undouble his pawns, the pawn that appears on d6 is so severely weakened that it's so easy for White to play against that.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that type of thing in Sicilians. Yeah,
you can really suffer if you don't have a bishop on e7, for example, to defend it. And it's incredible how easily Fischer won this game. It seems like e5 is still in Black's hand, but it's really a matter of time for him to organize his pieces with, I don't know, queen g3, the knight to the rooks down on the e5 and e5. It's it's going to happen. G4 is great. I mean, it's already thinking about E5 with the pawn of F5 defended. Queen D6, Queen G3, Rook E7, Knight F3, it's a great move. And C5, E5 already. I mean, it's just terrible. Positionally for black, this is awful. And once E5 falls, then the advantage by white on the king side is too big, I guess. Rook takes, Rook F8, Rook takes, Knight E5. It's funny that the white king seems to be completely open, and it seems dangerous. But this piece is actually controlling everything. This centralized knight just kills off any kind of counterplay. Even if you play Queen C6 at some point, you're not really threatening that much. If you play Queen H1, King F2, that's it. You have to go back. Which is crazy control by Fischer, I have to admit, because I would be scared as white to open up my king like this. But
yeah, I mean, E5, the whole idea of pushing E5 is the very last thing I would have considered in that original position.
It's a very strange way. This F5 idea as a step prior to pushing E5 looks very strange. I mean, you're actually weakening E5 to play E5 afterwards, but in the context that you get to trade the dark square bishops, the light square bishop does nothing to control E5 afterwards. I guess it kind of makes sense. Actually, the maneuver became popular thanks to that last Capablanca game, and then this game was the other famous win with this setup. Well, H4, and the pawns just start advancing. White just consolidates, and at some point he's going to play G5 too, I guess. Well, he didn't. In the game, he didn't get to do it. But this is good enough, I guess. Rook takes, should descend, that bishop is quite sad. And he transposed to an endgame, which is going to be one. I mean, this is the ideal endgame in Everlyn or in an exchange variation. An endgame where we have the majority and he has the crippled majority. So G5, that's interesting. If pawn takes, king here, and it looks dangerous, but actually this pawn is hanging, so it's better to just play it like this. And now we're even pawn up, 98. So we have this in case of bishop takes to4, and it's completely losing, of course. King f2, just in time. 97. What happens if bishop takes?
Hang on. Okay. Yeah, so if bishop takes, I think we play f6, and if he goes, he can't go to f7 because it's a fork, and if he goes, the cute part is if he goes king g6, then we play f7. And then if he takes king f7, then we have a fork again on e6.
It's f7, yeah. We're forcing the fork. Exactly. Yeah. Okay, so he can't go that way, and knight takes c5 is the threat, so c4, king g3, everything is defended, and now this knight is going to take care of the rest of the pawns. So black just threw in the tower here. The interesting part is that with f5, white is actually preventing this blockade of his pawns, which is completely counterintuitive, but it kind of became a typical maneuver in this structure. So I'm just looking for a game by Lasker. Lasker invented this way of pushing the pawns forward in this situation.
Was it a Roy?
Yeah, it's a game Lasker Janowski from their match, I think.
Okay.
1909. Ruiz change. I think this. They played a lot of Rui Lopez. No, wrong one. I guess I got the wrong one. I just remember about this one because the famous game is Lasker Capablanca, but I have a very clear example of how pushing these pawns in this way can be really effective.
Okay, so it was Lasker Janowski?
It's Lasker Janowski, yeah.
Janowski. Okay, I'm trying to find it. If I can spell his name right.
How many games Lasker won against Janowski in this stretch?
Yeah, I mean, world champion, 27 years. So it's a lot of games.
I'm wondering if it was really an exchange variation, or if it came from a different. I mean, it could be the same structure coming from a different Rui Lopez line, so it's not actually tagged as an exchange variation.
Do you ever do a search by pawn structure in ChessBase?
No, not really.
Oh, but I've never tried that, but I know you can do that. But
yeah, it might be a good idea to start learning using those feats. Oh, I found the game.
You found it. Okay.
I guess I wasn't going to get this pawn structure right because it has a little twist. There's a couple of double pawns that I didn't remember, of course. Ask Janowski. Janowski was an optimist. He really believed he could. He stood a chance against these guys, and he wanted to play the World Championship match. And he got to do it against Lasker. He was kicked out of the board, but he kept believing that he had a decent shot. Kind of the same that happened to Bogolyukov, who was completely convinced that he could take Alekine on. Well, he couldn't.
Depends how much he's been drinking, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I'm laughing, but I have to admire their self-belief. I guess that made them.
Well, yeah, I know. Actually, I meant Alekine. It depends how much Alekine has been drinking.
Oh yeah. Then there will be a legitimate chance.
Yeah. Okay, I see it.
There, it's fine.
Oh, it's not Edward.
Oh, no, it's not the. the fake Lasker.
But they were cousins, I believe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and Edward was quite a strong player.
Yeah.
It's really strange that there's another Lasker that's even better than him.
Yeah.
There is.
Yeah.
Um,
He wrote a book.
well, it's the same structure. I wanted to get to this point because you see this position, and even if you saw the other example, the last example by Fisher, it is not easy to come up with F5. It's definitely not the first move that comes to mind, at least to me. I mean, it's much more possible to hit upon this idea if you already know it, but still looks weird. uh, but the problem is it's kind of the same. If you push e5 first, uh, you just lose control of the light spark. This bad move. Uh, I just think f5 is stronger here. But if you play g5, e5 right away, then maybe the light squares are going to be blocked for quite some time. It will be difficult for you to move your pawns forward. Um, it's not a tragedy, it's not terrible for white, I guess, but f5 has a clear-cut idea. You're going to play bishop f4 and e5. There's no blockade on the light squares anymore. F6, g4. I mean, you're starting to see where Fischer got his idea. Even here, the majority is kind of crippled, even though these pawns are double. It's funny that it's so hard to push the pawns forward. Though you would get the passed pawn out of this situation, I guess, if we could just play with the pawns, but still them forwards. Rook e7, bishop f4, rook g8, rook e3. You see that this time around, Janowski even has a piece that actually does something to take control of e5. On the contrary of the last game where the light square bishop wasn't doing anything to prevent this. But even here we have, well, this other idea. You mentioned it, you mentioned that, hey, we have an attack on the king's and that's true. We have a very nice space advantage after f5-2, so we're going to get some new weaknesses maybe. Well, he tried knight a5, which makes sense for looks. But it's very interesting how white manages to make progress by pushing the pawns forward in this way. Even though he seems to be blocking his own structure, he's actually not. e5 is always there, kind of lurking. f5 also allows him to gain enough space on the king side to keep pushing. And yeah, in the end, he ends up winning the battle on the king side because of the pawn push. And now what he's making the most out of these two. If g7 disappears, now it's two passed pawns. g6, pawn takes, h takes, rook takes. This is not dangerous, I guess you have this. Yeah, g7, rook takes, pawn takes, rook g8, rook g2. Of course, black might be able to defend better, of course, but it's quite a good illustration of what's the problem for black after f5. Well, I think it's a nice trick to have in mind on how to push the pawns forward in this structure, which is usually quite difficult. Of course, in the Berlin, you already have a pawn on e5, but your pieces are quite well posted, and you can try in the long run to get g4 in and f4 in, but it's just a matter of being careful of not getting your structure completely fixed. That's the main problem in these setups.
You have to be super patient.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like, but you can see it this way. If I actually get to play G4, F4, F5, I'm positionally crushing him. So that'll be the end of the game most of the time.
Yeah, I also like the underlying idea that Black basically, like in the Berlin, if we was it this study? No,
The
it
game
was
study.
it was a game study here. So yeah, like I like the idea. Was maybe earlier on. Oh, I'm getting a little bit of feedback from myself again. But I like the idea that Black has to avoid exchanges of pieces, right? Because the more that gets exchanged, we have this crippled majority. That's, for me, that was my favorite thing from this lesson, learning about this crippled majority, recognizing that, and it doesn't really matter where the pawns are exactly, right? Which is nice too. But I like this idea of recognizing that even though it's a four versus three, that's misleading, because really this is these tie each other up, everything else being equal, like just kings on the board. And so I like that idea, because Black has to kind of go out of its way to avoid trades here, essentially. Because if we get to just king and pawn endgame, this is a big advantage for White. White's almost up a pawn, essentially.
Yeah. If it were like that, Black would be really happy, because that pair of bishop is great. It's a good imbalance for him. But yeah, that majority is his problem, actually. And yeah, that's why he tries so hard to keep everything blocked on the king side, because if your pawns march forwards, he's not getting the same on the other side of the board. So he might as well prevent it.
Yeah, and that's why, like, I know a lot of people dread the Berlin, one of the most hated openings out there. But I really don't mind it, even though Black is very close to equality, if not totally equal. I've always, with what little limited knowledge I have, I've always felt that White had like a tiny edge. I just thought White had a little bit more space, and I don't know. I just feel that the slightly extra space and often the initiative, I just always kind of preferred White a little bit. So I don't mind playing it.
Yeah, it seems that it's easier to know what to do as White. I mean, with Black, you have to know maybe some counterintuitive stuff, some maneuvers that seem very small, very restricted. It's hard to find that over the board, I guess. I mean, we see the top guys doing it routinely, but they're the top guys. I think that's definitely the case.
So thanks for the lesson. What do you think about Grischuk? You hate him now? Enemy of the state?
Grischuk?
Yeah.
Because of the...
Yeah, wiping out your countrymen there.
The famous match.
Yeah.
I was amazed that he actually got to win that. I thought that was a draw for sure, and he was just probing him for weaknesses. But as it turns out, it was hard to defend. I mean, these guys are so good. I saw the ending and I thought, okay, this is just a draw. He's going to a tiebreak with Grishik. He made him sweat. It's not like, hey, Per Sponsor just blundered something huge and horrible. I mean, there was a blunder at some point, but it was provoked. It wasn't easy to avoid. I was quite impressed by the way that Grishuk pushed that against a strong GM as Per Sponsor.
I would have liked to have seen him go into the tie breaks, because Grischuk is a remarkably good speed chess player. So he's very. I think, was it him that is like I forget if it was Grischuk was a five-time Blitz world champion.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I think
he's used to time travel, so
exactly. He's very good there. Yeah, it's funny with
But
classical chess he plays very slow, but in blitz chess he plays very quick. So
I would have liked to see the matchup. I mean, of course, Grishuk is a definite
favorite.
exclusive favorite. But Persponsa is actually quite strong in speed chess. He's a great bullet player, quite strong blitz player too. I mean, of course, we're talking about the elite with Grishuk, but Persponsa is kind of a specialist in blitz games too. So that would have been interesting to witness. I mean, I would give him more chances in blitz than in classical against the top guy. So that I mean, it was a real shame that he didn't get to hold that ending, but it was tough. I mean, Grishuk somehow showed that it was tough to hold. I honestly didn't think so until I saw later how Grishuk pushed. I was quite impressed that that was possible in that position. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still catching up on it. I'm on round 4, just finishing game 1. So, but I heard that he knocked them both out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm amazed how nowadays the top players push these really little advantages, even advantages that don't seem to be there. I mean, you look at that endgame and you're almost sure it should be a draw. Maybe in the past, some grandmasters have just agreed to a draw, but they keep finding resources to problems. It's incredible.
Yeah, like this game in the other study that we talked about last week. If you go to the lessons 2 one, the Grandelius Gion, yeah, just that end game was just ridiculous. That he's down 3 pawns, and he made it last for another like 60 moves.
And he's resisting,
yeah, just unbelievable. Such a pain in the butt. That's one thing like that I think a lot of players that have only played online and they haven't played it over the board tournament chess, I don't think they realize just how resilient tournament players are. Like tournament chess players at any level, they are going to defend tooth and nail and they're going to make you work as your ass off to, to convert, which is very annoying when you're trying to win, right? It's you just want to get the game wrapped up. But yeah, your opponents put up such a fight, and especially at the super GM level, it's ridiculous what they can come up with, right?
This game was incredible. I mean, the patience for White to win this and how much resistance John puts up with.
Yeah.
3 pounds down, it's not.
Amazing, yeah. Okay, well, yeah, thank you again, Alessandro. I'm going to keep going with the classical, keep grinding away, and I really liked that crippled majority. Learned something new today.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, thanks again.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye, Tyler.